America, just a few days ago, former President Donald Trump won a major victory in Colorado when it was concluded that the 14th Amendment did not preclude him from running for re-election in 2024. Similar debates are going on in Minnesota and Michigan right now. President Trump's already won Minnesota. Michigan's up next. Our next guest, well, he's been warning of the dangers of this lawfare, these sort of attacks to keep Donald Trump off the ballot so voters don't have a choice. He is Mike Davis, the founder and president of the Article 3 Project, and he joins us right now. Mike, great to have you back on the show.
Thank you for having me.
In all the years that I've been a journalist, and it's been a long time, 35 years doing this, I've never seen more efforts to deprive or use the court system to try to deprive people of choices in elections, whether it's the type of security they should have, what candidates can get on the ballot. It's an extraordinary amount of lawfare. Last 24 hours, I think your group put out a new ad to educate people on just what this lawfare, that's what they call it, is doing to American freedom when it comes to elections. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the Article 3 Project produced a 60-second ad outlining this lawfare against President Trump. The Democrats impeached Trump twice for nonsense. They indicted him 4 times for non-crimes. They've illegally, unconstitutionally gagged him in violation of his First Amendment rights twice. That all backfired. President Trump is now beating President Biden like a drum in the polling going into November 5th, 2024. So the Democrats are trying to throw their legal Hail Mary. They're trying to just simply take him off the ballot. And they tried to do that in Colorado. There is a tactical retreat. This biased Denver district court judge out here in Colorado, Sarah Wallace, said that somehow there was an insurrection on January 6th that wasn't just a protest that got out of hand and turned into a riot like anyone with common sense would see. She said there was an insurrection. She said that Trump somehow incited that insurrection, but she found a way out where she said that the 14th Amendment may not apply to the President of the United States, so she's going to let the Supreme Court reverse her later and try to kick Trump off the ballot later. But this is all part of Democrat lawfare. It's all part of election interference. They're trying to bankrupt him in New York for the non-fraud of a businessman paying back sophisticated Wall Street banks in full, on time, with interest. This is not going to work. The Article 3 Project has been on this since the Mar-a-Lago raid in August of 2022, and we're going to stay on this because the American people, not Democrat prosecutors, Democrat judges, and Democrat juries, and Democrat hellholes like D.C., New York, Atlanta, and Denver, get to decide the next presidential election.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. And I think, you look at the polling, and obviously it doesn't help that yesterday President Biden had a birthday cake in front of him that looked like it had been torched with a flamethrower. But people look at his age, they look at the economy, they look at border security, 2 wars that we should not even be involved in. And that obviously is bearing out in the polls. But for Democrats, they're 0 for 3 now when it comes to these court cases as far as getting President Trump taken off the ballot. If that was me and I'd been smashed in the mouth 3 times in these court losses, I wouldn't continue. I would try to find another method. Do you think that this kills at least this part of their effort in the crib, or do you think they're going to continue until they find just one judge to take him off the ballot, and then that sets a precedent going forward?
These are tactical retreats by the Democrats. They saw that there was political blowback. That in Denver, we created political blowback with the Article 3 Project and exposed that this is a partisan Democrat judge who donated to an anti-Trump January 6th PAC, and then she presided over an anti-Trump January 6th trial to throw Republicans out of office. I think what these Democrats are doing, whether it's the issue of standing or if they're trying to use some other out, that it's a primary versus a general election, they're going to keep coming back because they know that President Trump is going to win. They know the American people want President Trump back in the White House, and so they will do whatever it takes to stop him.
Yeah, it's just remarkable. I want to go through a couple of the famous "we told you so's" until they weren't true. The Democrats told us that Donald Trump was a spy of Russia. He wasn't. Turns out that was a bogus story. Another one that hit us so hard, and now we look back at it and realize what a folly it was. Major League Baseball pulled out of Atlanta saying, oh my God, there's a racist new election law in Georgia. They literally deprived the people of Atlanta of one of the great sports events of all time. And then 2 years later, they're coming back now because, 2 judges one named by Barack Obama, actually said, no, there's nothing wrong with this law. It's perfectly constitutional. Racism at all. These narratives that get built don't just have a political impact. They're hurting real people. All the people that were dragged before the court with millions of dollars of legal bills and Russia collusion. All the people in Minnesota, the small businesses that could have had a Major League Baseball game and an economic opportunity. When do Democrats pay for the harm that they're causing everyday Americans?
They pay when the Republicans make them pay, and that's the problem. Is we have these Republican politicians, these Republican lawyers, who have been sheltering in place since COVID. We had COVID lockdowns, we had BLM and Antifa riots, we had this blatant election interference in the last several elections. Now we have Hamas supporters terrorizing Jewish Americans all over America, particularly on college campuses. When Democrats feel resistance from Republicans, they back down. We've been doing this at the Article 3 project. It worked out here in Colorado when they were trying to throw Trump off the ballot. Republicans need to find their backbones, and we need to start fighting back legally and politically against the Democrats' lawfare and election interference.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of Republicans having backbones, I wanted to ask you because, we started out this segment talking about the lawfare and the smash mouth way in which Democrats maneuver. And this all kind of falls under that umbrella theme of Democrats, which is that the process is the punishment. Now, I've seen a lot of liberal commentators out there saying that if President Trump wins in 2024, this is their fear mongering, that President Trump is the one who is going to be turning the justice system back on Democrats. On Morning Joe, they even said, he's going to execute people. And then they kind of walked it back and delicatized the statement that they had just made because they realized it sounded ridiculous. With respect to the way that President Trump would legislate if he were to win next year, it kind of seems like Democrats, the accusations against President Trump, it's just psychological projection because that's exactly what they're doing right now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I troll the Democrats about being Trump's acting attorney general, which is not even legally possible. And during my 3-week reign of terror, I'm going to indict and deport and detain and all this nonsense. The point of my hysterics, the point of my hyperbole is for Democrats to wake up and understand that these are Republican tactics. This is how you destroy a country, by using lawfare and election interference to go after your political opponents. That's how the Roman Republic fell. It was Caesar being chased by the Roman insiders and the lawfare against him, where he crossed the Rubicon from Gaul into Rome, and it led to the fall of the Roman Republic. And I'm not saying that there's going to be any sort of invasion, but if you have a legal tit for tat back and forth between political opponents, you're going to see the destruction of your country very fast.
Great point. Really important. We only got a few seconds, Mike. I want to ask about one more thing that keeps coming up. Liberal dark money groups gave millions to SCOTUS watchdogs targeting all of the conservative justice, Alito, Thomas, et cetera. Another really form of intimidation of jurors, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, this is part of an organized effort by the Democrats with their billionaire donors. They know that the Supreme Court is the last line of defense protecting all Americans from the government tyranny and mob rule. And so the left, they don't control the Supreme Court, so they're just trying to delegitimize and destroy it.
Yeah, such a good point. Earlier in the show, Abe Hamadeh said, I'm worried about a lot of Republicans being controlled opposition. Mike Davis, you're not one of them. You're on the front line fighting, and you don't back down. What a great honor to have you on. Happy Thanksgiving, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.